Welcome to DIY Eco Guy. I'm your host, Chris Graber. I'm an engineer, a nature lover, and I'm concerned about climate change. This podcast is about simple DIY sustainability solutions you can implement in your home and community. I do the research and tackle projects at my house and share what I've learned with you. So let's have fun while making an impact on our world, one action at a time. Welcome to episode 6, One Solution for Our Plastic Problems. We all know there's too much plastic. You've probably heard that much of it doesn't get recycled, even if you put it in your bin. So we should all try to use less of it, look for alternatives, and advocate for change. It's going to be a gradual process. So I want to highlight one solution that's available here in Tucson, Arizona right now, and that is a program through Fusion, BY Fusion. It's not perfect, but it's a way to put your non-recyclable plastic to use, quote-unquote, now, since they turn it into construction blocks, which when I learned about this, I was like, man, this is a really cool idea. So first, some background info, then we'll explain what Fusion is doing, look at the Tucson program specifically, and some other alternatives, things that you can do around the plastics problem. So to learn more, check out buyfusion.com and buyfusionunity.com, see what they're all about. I also wrote an article at DIYEcoGuy.com with more photos and links, some of my experience with the program. And before we dive into the background info, you might want to try an experiment. Just put a bag in your garage and fill it with all your non-recyclable plastic for a month. You might be surprised. So basically, everything that's not number 1 and number 2, put it in a bag. All the packaging, bubble wrap, random little pieces of plastic, it really adds up. So now the background info section, aka depressing stats, etc. So what is plastic? Plastics are a wide range of synthetic or semi-synthetic materials that use polymers as a main ingredient. So they're often, easily molded, pretty quick and cheap to produce, although there's a lot of waste that comes along with that. So we've been putting recyclable, quote-unquote recyclable, number 1 and 2 plastics into recycling bins for a long time. We've been dutifully following instructions, washing out containers, sorting things. But check out this quote from the Fusion website. Just 9% of the plastic gets recycled. The rest goes to landfills, incinerators, or ends up in our oceans. So 9% actually gets recycled. What a ripoff. If you would have been told that back when you started sorting your 1 and 2 plastics way back when. So it's kind of amazing. And, we've all heard about the environmental and health problems. Microplastics, is BPA free really okay? And on and on. Fusion also mentions that only 53% of people have access to a blue recycling bin. So I originally grew up in California, and I was very surprised here in Arizona, like people not in the city center of Tucson often don't recycle. That was just kind of amazing to me. So what about everything that you can't recycle at all? So there's number 1 through number 7. So what about 3 through 7? If you look at everything you bring home, you'll be surprised how many things are number 3 through 7. Just and everything else. Think about all the packaging, random little pieces of plastic on everything around you all day. It's a lot. So if you want to geek out like I did, you can look at the plastic page on Wikipedia, learn more about the history, such as the world's first fully synthetic plastic was called Bakelite. It was invented in New York in 1907 by Leo Baekeland, who coined the term, quote unquote, plastics. The word plastics derives from a Greek word plastikos, meaning capable of being shaped or molded. Another exciting or depressing stat is, of all the plastic discarded so far, some 14% of it has been incinerated. So think about that. Think of all the millions of tons of plastic that's been discarded, and 14%, that's a big number, has been burned. Have you ever burned plastic? It smells terrible. You know that can't be a good idea. So, other numbers, 9.2 billion metric tons of plastic are estimated to have been made between 1950 and 2017, with more than half being produced since 2004. That's incredible. So it just keeps ramping up. In 2020, 400 million tons of plastic were produced. If global trends continue, it's estimated that by 2050, the annual global plastic production will reach over 1.1 billion tons. So that's more than doubling in 50 years. That's over 1,000 million tons. That's really a lot. So even though it's produced like crazy, the long-term costs are huge. So before we buy more plastic, we should think about using less. Just buying less stuff in general helps. Think about it. So you can learn from quote-unquote zero waste principles, such as the 5 R's. Refuse, reduce, reuse, recycle, and rot, or compost. So even though it's ambitious to think that we can actually produce zero waste, it's a great goal. It really gets you thinking. And there are a lot of alternatives for common plastic items. Look them up or contact me. Check out zerowastehome.com. She has a great book and a store with products that she uses. So also see if there are any zero waste stores in your town. We have one here and it's great. And so lots of little products that you can end up getting that last a long, long time and don't have any plastic in them at all. You can do all the obvious things like buy in bulk. Just implement changes gradually and it'll make a big impact. Okay, so now on to Biofusion, which is the company that has a program here in Tucson. So they have an innovative and really quite simple idea to deal with part of this plastics problem. They were founded with a mission to provide ethical, transparent, end-to-end landfill diversion services to companies and municipalities, helping them reduce their plastic waste footprint. So the Biofusion program, it turns plastic waste into something called BY blocks, BY blocks. That's a 100% repurposed building material. There's no cleaning, no sorting, no pre-processing. Think of it as all the number 3 through number 7 plastics you have, all the little random non-recyclable stuff. Bubble wrap, plastic bags, etc. Some stats from their website on their impact so far: 431,000 pounds of plastic diverted from landfills. Almost 28,000 pounds of marine debris has been repurposed, and almost 130,000 pounds of carbon dioxide avoided. So how do they do it? They take all of your random little bits of plastic and they put them through what's called a blocker machine. It's just big metal contraption. It only uses steam and pressure to make these blocks. They're 22 pounds, about the size of a concrete block you might see used for a retaining wall. I hear they're 10 pounds lighter than a concrete block, which is nice, easier to lift. They're sort of like large multicolored Lego blocks. They stack up, they connect together, and they use like a threaded rebar with a nut to tighten them together, make a sturdy structure. So they can be used to make walls, park benches, you name it. They're also good insulators. So, and since each buy block's made out of 100% non-recyclable plastic content, it's probably one of the more sustainable building block options on the market. They say their manufacturing process is carbon neutral and no extra chemicals are required. The plastic is not actually melted in the upcycling process. And standard building materials like drywall, siding, and tile can be applied to the surface of the blocks. You can also paint them. So now on to the Tucson program. So Tucson ran a pilot program in 2020 to gauge public interest, and they collected 110 tons of plastics to be turned into these blocks. That was more than double their goal, so clearly the idea is taking off here. And then in May 2023, the City Council approved a 4-year, $1 million contract with Bifusion, made Tucson the first city in the world to scale up the program. So it's a citywide service. Even with just a percentage of people in town participating and having to drop off their plastic, this city's non-recyclable plastic waste generation averages about 25 tons per month. So that actually exceeds their current capacity at Bifusion, which a little while back was apparently 10 tons per month. So there's a stockpile of non-recyclable plastic at a couple of the facilities here. And they're working on implementing, rolling out at one of the facilities like a substantial way to process all this plastics. So there's several drop-off locations in town now. I hope that many other cities adopt this sort of program, that businesses get involved, and then eventually there are pickup services. I mean, it kind of seems like a no-brainer. It's not perfect, but it's something that can be implemented now in a lot of places. And what do I have to do to participate? It's very easy. I have a bag in my garage. I fill it up with all the excess plastic bags and other non-recyclable plastics. Their website shows a list of what's accepted. It's a long list, like I mentioned: plastic bags, bubble wrap, products contaminated by food waste, etc. Their bins also have some nice diagrams when you show up, so you can make sure you are doing this correctly. I just go down there periodically. I got a neighbor involved as well. I hear they've changed it so you have to use a orange hefty bag with instructions on it now, because people were putting incorrect things in there in the bins. So I'm going to go get some of those. Basically just put all my excess plastic in there. A side note, while I'm at it, I actually take my standard number 1 and number 2 items down there too and use their other bin for that. I do this now because I'm actually not sure if my home recycling / trash companies is recycling those plastics correctly, just because I know there have been a lot of issues there. So hopefully the city is doing things correctly. The facility I drop off at, it also takes glass and grinds it up for use around town. It takes cardboard, so I might stop paying for my home recycling bin eventually, which would lead to more burrito money for me. So other alternatives, like I mentioned, first try to buy less stuff in general. Specifically focus on plastic for a while and just see how that looks for you. Again, try an experiment. Put a bag in your garage, fill it with all your non-recyclable plastic for a month, and you might be surprised. It can really add up. Now, a lot of people are working on plastic alternatives. You can read all about those. There's a lot going on in that space. But plastic is going to be around for some time. It's just been so integrated into our lives. So Tucson's the first city to use this bifusion program, but go check out bifusionunity.com. They now have a process where you can mail them your plastic. So kind of similar to, you might have heard of TerraCycle, which is a company that allows you to do that kind of thing. This is somewhat along those lines. So yeah, and TerraCycle, if you don't know, they're a private US-based recycling business. They're in New Jersey. They run a volunteer-based recycling platform. They collect non-recyclable pre-consumer, post-consumer waste from corporate donors, municipalities, and individuals. They turn it into raw material to be used in new products. They manage this program called Loop. It's a consumer product shopping service with reusable packaging. I went on their website today, and you can get a free shipping label for some companies' products. So check out their website for more information. They had a drop-off at our local zero waste store too, I think. So TerraCycle, Terra cycle, in addition to Bifusion, BY Fusion. So again, learn more, go to bifusion.com, bifusionunity.com, see what they're all about. I also wrote an article at DIYEcoguy.com with more photos and links and some of my experience with the program here. Tell your city about this idea, businesses in your area, maybe it'll catch on. You could also follow Bifusion on social media, check out their newsletter, follow what they're doing. It's pretty innovative, exciting stuff. So that's my quick summary. Thanks for listening. All right. I'd love to hear from you. My email is chris@diyecoguy.com. I'm on social media at diyecoguy. Do you have any questions, topics you'd like me to cover? What's your perspective? What are you curious about? I'm here to help make sustainability more simple. So I look forward to sharing more with you on the next episode. And until then, thanks for listening to the DIY Eco Guy podcast. Take it easy and get rad.